Okay, in this video, we are going to use the proportions that we laid out on the photographs of the staff member's face to lay it out on a piece of paper, okay? So we started this in class, but I'm gonna start from the beginning, so wherever you are, you can find that part, or you could watch this through and use this however you need to help you. Okay. So I have the lovely Mrs. Crowley. I need the paper that I wrote, that I drew on all of these proportions. And then I have the color photo of her, which gives me more information because this one's a little grayed out so that you could draw on it more easily. So I'll start with this one because that's going to help me figure out where everything should be. And then to look at more detail, I'll look at this one if I need to. And I think I'm gonna need to, so we'll see how this goes. The first thing I'm gonna do is show myself how big I want the head to be. I'm not gonna be able to determine the size of the head yet. That would not be efficient because I don't wanna start at the edge of something and then work in. I wanna go from the inside to the outside because the size of the eyes and the nose and the placement of the mouth are gonna determine where the shape and contour of her head actually ends up being. So I'm gonna start, as we started before, by putting a mid-center line here that's gonna be her eye line, okay? I wanna make sure, I'm gonna use a ruler, I'm gonna make sure that I have it actually in the center. So this is about 3 1/4, and this is about 3 1/4. I'm asking you to measure it because it's very easy to get this dimension wrong and not be equal. And then you're thrown off in a lot of other ways. So we talked about one of the mistakes that a portrait artist can make, or somebody who's drawing a human head can make, is to not leave enough space for a brain, either here at the top, or if we were looking at a side view, to cut off the back of the head. So we're gonna make sure that these are equal, and that's gonna help us get off on the right footing. And then we're going to put the central axis in here. So we've got symmetry in a sense in 2 ways. We've got these 2 dimensions are equal, and then of course both sides of the face are generally symmetrical. Then I'm gonna start with the eyes, and Mrs. Crowley's eyes are equal to each other. So I'm gonna try to judge this. I could measure it, I could try to do the math between like how long is this compared to how long is this, and try to do a proportion. That would be okay. I'm not trying yet to get you guys to be able to draw freehand if you feel that you need some kind of help, but the idea is to draw freehand eventually. So when I did this, I decided that she was somewhat on turned to the side, and so I have a little less space over here and a little more space over here. But if I draw these 5 eyes, that shows me generally that I have the right amount of space. I have some lines that I've made from the inside corner of her eye down that shows me the edge of her nostrils, okay? So this falls in a different place on different people's faces, but we're gonna kind of reconstruct this geometry. Okay, the center of the eyes down. Okay, so that recreates these boxes. And then we talked about the base of the nose comes 1/2 to 1/3 of the distance between the eye line and the chin. So I could actually measure that if I wanted to, and I'm going to go ahead and do that because I don't want to leave anything here that you're struggling with. But I'm going to mark 1/3 and 1/2. So I can see where I made the 1/3 mark here. It's a little bit down from there. So this should be where the base of her nose is, somewhere along here. And I'm gonna follow the contour of her nose and her nostrils. And that's gonna help me decide if I have this right or not. And I'm always checking if what I had is correct. Okay, so her nose is wider than I have it, I think, here. Okay, so I'm trying to make all this line up. And I'm thinking about what is the shape of her nose. I'm kind of simplifying it a little bit. Okay. And then I want to think about where is the parting of her lips. And I want to think about this distance here. Okay, so I'm going to put it right here, and I'm going to try to very lightly put in the contour of her lips. One of the things that we were warned about in our geometry handout was if we went too dark here and made a rim for her lips, that wouldn't look realistic. So, but I do know that the edge of her mouth, and I can look at it over here, has an edge that comes all the way out to the center of the eye. And she's making this kind of smiling smirk, which is very cute. And I want to make sure that I eventually capture that. Okay, I have some other lines here that are going to help me. I want to look at the distance between these smile lines and her the end of her lips. Okay, now for the eyes, I'm still playing a little bit about exactly where this is going to go, but I want to look at the highest point. We talked about the highest point on the lid and then the outside corner. Okay, I've moved that a little bit over to here. And then I can also look at the white space as negative space. And I want to look at the contour of her eye. And Mrs. Crowley is wearing eyeliner, so I'm going to put that in there. Okay, now I'm going to go over here to the other eye. I'm kind of looking at both of them at the same time. I'm looking at this color photo also because this one I drew on. So I want to think about the highest point of the lid. And then she has an eyelid in addition to her actual, like a fold of her eyelid in addition to the eye itself. Okay. Let's see. Might want to go a little bit further over because I have her mouth. Let's see, either I have the mouth too wide. Okay, I think this eye I put a little too far over. Every time I'm making a line, it's very light because I want to be able to change it as much as I want to. Okay, that might be a little more correct. Okay, and then she has eyebrows up here that are going to help me a little bit because I can look at the shape of the eyebrows. And like we talked about, we want to be careful that the eyebrows aren't like the lines of the, we want to deal with them the same way that we've dealt with the lines here on the lips. We don't want them to be too dark because we don't want them to look artificial. Okay, so here I think I'm ready to think about the shape of the face. So I want to think about how far out this is coming. Her eyebrows come a little bit farther than the corner of her eyes. And I'm thinking about the shape of her hair in relationship to the shape of the side of her head. And I also want to think about, I can look over here too, but I want to think about where do her ears fall. So they fall in between the base of her nose and the part of her lips. So I'm going to put this in here. And then I'm going to start to look for her, the line of the chin. think I made this too far over. So we talked about how uninteresting spaces tend to get compressed, and we don't want to do that. Okay, she's got a little bit more definition to her jawline here. This isn't quite one eye wide over here because of her face being a little bit turned. And I'm following the shape of her head by following her hairline. So I'm recording where does the hair grow, in what direction, and then how does it fall. Here's her ear across from her eye. Her ear seems to come down to about there. And I can see a little bit of her ear. I'm going to put that in there. Got earrings. Over here I can see a little bit of her ear. Pencils dull. Nope. Okay, I can't fully capture her face until I start to shade, and that is not expected for this assignment. So we're gonna start to shade this when you come back to class. So for right now, I just want you to lay in the basic shapes here so that we have boundaries when we start to shade. Okay. I think her nose still might be a little bit higher than I have it. It can help to get back from your drawing. It can also help to prop your drawing up so that you can see it a little better. Okay, so I've got this laid in, and we're gonna shade it next time we see each other in class. So I just want you to have it to this point where you have all the basic shapes laid in. And we'll talk again soon.